Awakened ones, when we embark on the journey of spiritual awakening, one of the first things we notice is the constant flow of thoughts that dominate our minds. This realization can be surprising, as many of us have spent our entire lives identifying with this voice in our heads, believing it to be who we truly are. But when we recognize that there is something beyond this incessant flow, we take the first step toward higher consciousness. Here on our channel, we talk about spiritual awakening and the law of attraction, often merging both areas of knowledge so that you can live a complete life. Spiritual awakening begins the moment we recognize that thought, while useful, is not who we are. There is a presence, a silent awareness, that observes thoughts without getting involved with them. When you notice this inner voice, the awareness itself is not a thought. It is a state of presence. This recognition is the key to accessing a deeper dimension of being, a dimension that is always present but often obscured by mental noise. This new awareness is transformative. You begin to notice that you are no longer completely trapped by the narratives created by your mind. The I that once identified with every thought starts giving space to the consciousness that simply observes. It is a moment of liberation where the weight of judgments, worries, and personal dramas begins to dissipate. Instead of being dominated by thoughts, you experience flashes of peace and presence. This initial stage of awakening can be compared to opening a window in a dark room. No matter how brief, the light that enters changes everything. At this moment, you realize that there is something beyond the ego, beyond the stories your mind tells, and this realization is a direct connection to what we can call higher or spiritual consciousness. It does not matter what name you give it, presence, awareness, being. The important thing is that you have started experiencing this dimension. The benefit of this initial realization is immense. It opens the door to a life that is less reactive and more aligned with the essence of the present moment. You realize that behind the agitation of thoughts, there is an inherent calmness, a spaciousness that holds everything. It is in this space that true peace begins to emerge. This is just the introduction to a much broader and deeper journey. When we recognize that we are not our thoughts, but the consciousness that observes them, we are planting the seed for an even greater awakening. This initial realization is like the dawn of a new day. It is not the end, but the beginning of a path of discovery and expansion. As we progress on our spiritual journey, we begin to understand a fundamental concept that is often misunderstood: emptiness, or as I prefer to call it, spaciousness. During awakening, we encounter moments when we feel a kind of inner void. At first, this may seem uncomfortable, as if something is missing, but in reality, this void is one of the greatest blessings of awakening. Spaciousness is not absence. It is pure presence. It is a state of consciousness that arises when the mind's incessant noise diminishes, even if only for brief moments. This space is the most sacred part of us. It connects us to a deeper dimension that is always present, but is often overshadowed by thoughts, judgments, and the ego's narratives. When we access this spaciousness, we feel a peace that does not depend on anything external, a calmness that goes beyond circumstances. In the previous text, we talked about the Zen master and his instruction to empty the cup before learning. This metaphor perfectly illustrates the process of creating space within ourselves so that something new can emerge. If we are constantly full of thoughts, beliefs, and interpretations, there is no room for higher consciousness to manifest. Emptying the mind means allowing this inner spaciousness to flourish. This spaciousness is not something distant or reserved for a few. It is accessible in everyday moments, often without us realizing it. Think about times when you were mesmerized by a sunset, felt the vastness of the ocean, or looked into a baby's eyes. In those moments, something inside you became quiet. The incessant flow of thoughts was interrupted, and for a moment, you were fully present. This state, however brief, is a glimpse of spaciousness. For many people, these moments arise spontaneously, like flashes. They may not recognize them as spiritual experiences, but that is exactly what they are. These moments of full presence offer temporary relief from mental noise and remind us of the depth that exists beyond the ego. It is as if, for a few seconds, reality aligns with the essence of being. However, for many, this spaciousness remains a dormant dimension, hidden beneath the weight of mental noise. When the mind is filled with worries, judgments, and resistance, it becomes difficult to access this inner calm. This is why awakening is so important. It gradually helps us dissolve this density and reconnect with our deepest essence. This spaciousness is the gateway to a lighter, more conscious, and more connected life. When we perceive it, we begin to understand that we are not the stories of the mind, but the vast awareness that observes them. And in that space, we find true freedom. There is something profoundly transformative about the moments when we fully connect with the now. After awakening, these instances become clearer and more meaningful because they bring forth a presence that goes beyond the mind's incessant flow. These moments, though simple, reveal the potential to live in peace and alignment with the essence of being. Often, these connections arise unexpectedly. Imagine you are watching a sunset, admiring the sky painted with shades of orange and pink. For a moment, your mind stops. The thoughts that constantly occupy your attention give way to something greater, a silent awareness. You are no longer thinking about yourself, your problems, or the future. Instead, you simply are. This is a glimpse of the spaciousness we have discussed, a moment when consciousness surpasses the mind's domain. Something similar happens when we look into a baby's eyes. The gaze of a child, so pure and free of judgment, can temporarily free us from our internal stories. The baby is not thinking. They are simply present, and this state of presence resonates with something deep within us. These small moments, which often go unnoticed, are opportunities to access what is most true in our essence. These glimpses, no matter how brief, are extremely valuable. They show us that there is something beyond the mind's narrative, something that is always available. However, not everyone perceives these moments, as mental noise is often so intense that it creates a barrier. When we are lost in judgments and interpretations, even the beauty of a sunset or the purity of a baby's gaze can be reduced to a simple label, without the depth it carries. For those who have experienced this connection, it is important to recognize that these moments are not mere accidents. They are manifestations of the presence that has always been within you. Even if they seem fleeting, these experiences have the power to transform the way we see the world. They remind us that true peace does not come from the external, but from the connection with the now. The challenge is to bring these moments into daily life. We do not need to wait for a spectacular sunset or an encounter with a child to access this spaciousness. It is available at every moment, in the sound of rain, in the rhythm of breathing, or in the simplicity of a daily task. When we allow ourselves to be fully present, we create space for this consciousness to awaken within us. Throughout the spiritual journey, inner silence emerges as one of the fundamental pillars for accessing deeper consciousness. This silence is not merely the absence of sound or thoughts, but the creation of a space where the mind ceases to be the protagonist, allowing presence and higher awareness to manifest. In this space, we find the true connection with our essence and the universe. I invite you to reflect. What moments in your day have the power to bring this connection? Have you experienced these moments of silence and inner peace? Share in the comments, as your experience may inspire others on their journeys. And if this content touched your heart, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who need this message. Remember, the now is where everything happens, and where you find your true self.